It's 3 a.m. in the morning and I still cannot sleep. Yeah, this is how frustrating it is. People don't understand when you talk about your insomnia to people. They don't understand. They think, yeah, if you stay up longer, you're eventually gonna get tired and you fall asleep. That's not true. I don't even feel a slight bit of drowsiness. Um, and I know the reasons why I cannot sleep. I know, I know the reason. Uh, because I notice a pattern. I notice a pattern of behaviors that's causing the sleep issue. Every time I work 12-hour shift, I think my body get exhausted, and this exhaustion, feeling physically exhausted, is probably causing the insomnia. I know to be physically tired is okay, but it shouldn't go to the level where it's affecting your sleep, right? Um, I know it might be healthy for some people to be physically active and to get tired, and could be good for their heart and whatnot. That's why people go to the gym anyways, uh, to get tired, to train their muscle, to become stronger. Um, but for me, it's just not working. It's not working every time. Like every time I work out, not work out, like I work 12-hour shift, and I walk all day almost all day. I mean, I do take some breaks. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I do take some breaks. But every time I do a 12-hour shift, it definitely makes my sleep worse. There isn't a day that I have worked 12-hour shift walking all day long that my sleep was better. There wasn't a day I can remember where I worked 12-hour shift walking around all day and my sleep improved as a result. There wasn't a day I could remember that. I have a smartwatch, and my smartwatch is the proof. It records all my sleep behaviors. So on the day when I work 12-hour shift, I'm barely getting any sleep. I'm barely getting any sleep. So even the 8-hour shift, my body is not handling anymore. Even the 8-hour shift, walking for 8 hours. Because when you have insomnia for so long, as I said before, you get tired easily. Like even doing your grocery may get you tired, right? Like small physical activity becomes exhausting and tiring. Just doing an 8-hour shift alone could upset the balance, right? Um, Doing 8-hour shift it's probably your body perceive it as working for 20 hours maybe, right? Or 30 hours. It's how your body perceives the physical activity, right? Um, and I think my body is exhausted because it's perceiving whatever I'm doing as very tiring, and it's going into a fight or flight mode, right? So it's getting into sympathetic responses. It's producing these sympathetic responses that's causing my body to stay awake. It's not fear. I mean, fear can produce sympathetic responses as well, but it's not the fear. There isn't anything that I'm scared about. There is no boogeyman that I'm afraid of, and there is nothing I'm worried about. Uh, what is causing the fight and flight responses is probably the physical activity that I'm doing every day and the lack of sleep. So it's both. They're both tied together. More physical activity, the less I sleep, the more tired I get easily, right? So it's a vicious cycle. Um, so like this vicious cycle, I have to break it down somehow. Like I have to stop working at some point. And I mean, not, it mean like taking rest. And even if I manage to take rest, it may take a long time before it gets fixed. Because like my body just need a like learned it learned not to sleep. It learned all these behaviors, right? So slowly I have to retrain my brain that it needs certain amount of sleep, right? Slowly I have to retrain my body it needs certain amount of rest and prevent it from entering into a fight or flight responses. Um, that's the issue here, is entering into fight or flight responses, right? It's responding in a fight or flight mode, right? This is how it is. And I know there are exercises like meditations, yoga, breathing to help you enter into a parasympathetic response, but it doesn't work for me. It may work for some people. It might work a little bit, I don't know for sure, but I didn't find it very effective. Um, and the only thing that's gonna make me enter into a parasympathetic response is getting more sleep, getting more rest. These are the only two things that work for me. I'm just speaking of what works for me. Getting more rest, doing something that's fun, that's something I enjoy, maybe watching TV or watching a movie. It's like as long as I'm enjoying the process, right? I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm not agitated. I'm I know like sometimes watching a movie doesn't work, but if I'm in a good mood and I watch movie, I feel relaxed. I enter into a parasympathetic re- responses. Like I will start to feel sleepy when I'm watching TV, right? So, but today I couldn't. I tried to watch TV, and my body, for some reason, it just could not feel sleepy. And sometimes watching TV when you're irritated and agitated could cause a sympathetic response. Actually, could do the opposite. So it doesn't always work. Um, yeah, like let's say I haven't slept for 2 days, 3 days in a row, and I try to watch something on YouTube or listen to a lecture or a podcast. It will make me feel agitated, right? It just works the opposite, right? The opposite of the expected result. So if I'm expecting podcast to help me sleep and I haven't slept for 3 days, it may work the opposite. If I haven't slept for 3 days, because once you're in a bad mood, you haven't slept for 3 days, you're in a bad mood, everything will cause you to be irritated. Even the things that you enjoy, sex or watching a movie or whatnot, right? Even anything you enjoy doing, it's gonna be stressful to do it. It's gonna be, it's gonna cause anxiety and stress. I know it's hard to believe. So how can sex cause it? How can watching a movie cause your anxiety and stress? But that's how it works. That's how my body works. And maybe some other people the same way. They experience the same way. My body is like this. If I'm haven't slept for 3 days, I don't want to even listen to anything. I don't want to even hear. I don't want to even hear my kids talk. Right? I don't want to hear anybody talk to me. Um, like I feel so irritated to the point where I want to die. Right? Like I just want my body to shut down and go to sleep. Um, so it's a completely different. You're in a completely different mood. when you don't sleep, and nothing will work. Nothing, no matter what you do. Like, you have to keep trying to sleep, right? That's what it is. Like, when I don't sleep for 2 3 days, I start to hallucinate. To be honest, um, yeah, I do hear like I don't hear voices like that kind of hallucination, but the hallucination I hear is like muffling sound, boom 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 boom. Like in my head, I hear this kind of muffling sounds, like as if I'm listening to the inside of my head, boom 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 boom. Right? This is the sounds I hear sometimes. And other types of hallucination I experience is that like, let's say I'm listening to a podcast, right? Or I'm listening to a music or something, or whatever I'm listening to, and I stop the audio. After I stop the audio, um, the sound will continue playing in my head as if I didn't stop the audio, right? So this kind of hallucination I've experienced when I don't sleep for a very long time. Um, but I never heard any unreal voices. I never heard, like, yet. I don't know. Maybe if it get worse, I might start the hallucinating for real. But maybe I'll start hearing voices. I don't know. But so far, I haven't heard any voices. I don't have any schizophrenia. I don't see unreal things. Um, and that's what they try to blame you. Maybe you have schizophrenia. Maybe you have this. Like, if you talk to a doctor, tell them you hallucinate, they're gonna give you medication for schizophrenia. Um, where the real issue is, you're not schizophrenic. You're having sleep issues, and you're having sleep issues because you're exhausted. So that's what the doctors should do when they investigate insomnia. They should investigate the root cause. They should try to investigate the root cause rather than focus on um, how we're gonna treat the symptom. Right? Treating the symptom is not gonna fix the problem. It may make it worse. Um, and this is what I've been trying with, like, my doctor. This is what I've been trying to do with my family doctor. However, it's been a challenge because every time I book my appointment with that doctor, he cancels my appointment, and it's like he doesn't want to see me. He's tired of me. He will make excuse every time. Oh, today he has a meeting. So why you book me? You book my appointment during a meeting, right? Your meeting. Oh, today he's on vacation. Every 2 weeks he's on vacation for some reason. I don't know what. Like, this is not normal. Like, I get pissed off, and there's nothing I can do. And even if I have to change family doctor, I have to go for. They told me, like, I tried to call the health line up. What's it called? The Canada Services, not Healthline. It's called, I think, the. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Like the Canada Services, I guess. The one that deals with providing um, public services like driver license and healthcare, health card, whatever. And I think you could call them to ask about getting another family doctor. Um, so I called them, and they told me, well, you could wait for 1 year, 2 years. Like, you have to be on a wait list to get a family doctor. And even after 1 year, 2 years, you may not even get a good family doctor. Like, that's the issue here in Canada. You can't get a good family doctor. And even if you wait for 1 year or 2 years, like, if I have to change this doctor, I have to wait for 2 years, 1 year, who knows, maybe 10 years even, to get another family doctor. And the market is saturated. The market is saturated, And you can't blame also these family doctors, some of them. You can't blame them because they have too many patients. They don't care, you know. They think they're gonna care about your insomnia. They don't care. They just want 5 minutes, see you, bye bye. After 5 minutes, go out of the door. They don't want to see you. They don't even want you to come back. Unless you're dying, they don't want to see you. And even when you're dying, they don't want too many problems also. They just want to spend 5 minutes with you and that's it. 5, 10 minutes, bye bye. And this is the healthcare of Canada, you know. That's how it is. Um, I mean, something gotta change at some point. They need to change the system. Um, this is not right. This is not right at all. Yeah, they need to change it. Otherwise, people are gonna suffer like me, like I'm suffering because of this. I'm suffering because I'm not getting medical treatment like I should, you know. I know it's free and I appreciate it, you know. It's free, especially I'm poor. But if I'm rich, I really don't care. I'll pay from my pocket. Think I care about money if I'm rich. I'll pay from my pocket as long as I can get good healthcare. I don't care about money. And I think most rich people will not care about money when it comes to their health. So that's why we should have private healthcare mixed with public here in Canada. We should have that. Um, that's the only way. You need competition. Like we need to have more doctors and we need competition, and that's the only way to improve healthcare. If you have limited number of doctors, you don't have competition. It's no way, no way our healthcare system is gonna improve. Canada need to step up their game, produce more doctors every year, have as many doctors as they can produce, and it's not impossible. It's possible. It is possible to make more doctors. Um, we need to have way more doctors. Increase the competition. Once the competition increased, that will lower the price also, right? It's supply and demand. That's how it is. More doctors, the price drops. Now I know some doctors don't want to get paid less and whatnot. So what? Also, they should like so what do they get paid less? I'm not saying, but they should also like stop all the bullshit, right? You shouldn't make a doctor go study 4 years undergraduate. They should also change their curriculum. If they want to make more doctors, they need to change their curriculum, right? They have to make some changes in their curriculum at some point. You go undergrad for 4 years and then med school for another 4 years, and then I don't know how many more years they have to study to become a doctor, and then they justify that for the high wages, right? Like they will say we need high wages because we studied for so many years. Well, even they studied for so many years, they're not even applying half of what they learned in their field. Are they even applying half of what they learned? No, not even 10%. 10% maybe it would be like a good number actually if they apply 10% of what they learned. A lot of what they apply is what they learn in the practical, right? Not the theories. A lot of these theories they learn, it goes in the garbage. So the most thing they're gonna learn is the practical aspect of their practice, right? The practical part. Like when they spend time in the clinical, right? So in a clinical setting, not in a classroom. This is where the most learning happen, actually. This is where, not the most learning, not necessarily the most learning, this is where the most stuff they learn that they will apply um, in a clinical setting. And if they want really to make more doctors, they have to cut down on the number of courses they teach these doctors. You don't need to study that much. You don't need. You could literally become a doctor in 1 year, and he will be as good as the doctor who studied for 10 years. Because not, you have to remember the fact, not everything they learn they apply. So that means you could cut down on a lot of bullshit and shrink the curriculum to 1 year or 2 years, and you can still have some good doctors, right? That's the fact. That's the reality. And we all have to face that reality. I know some people say, well, I don't want a doctor who graduated in 2 years. Maybe he's not good. Maybe I don't trust that doctor to work on me. Well, which one do you like? You want to wait for you have a crappy healthcare system just to get a doctor who have 10 years of studying that don't even apply what they learn? Majority of what they learn, they don't even apply. Or you want to have a doctor, um, or you want to have a doctor that studied for 2 years and has all the time in the world for you, and who probably even have more experience than the doctor who studied for 10, 15 years, right? Which one you want more? Because you have to remember, the more doctors spend time with their patients, the more experience they get, they learn. Because what can the doctor learn from my insomnia if they only spending 5 minutes with me, or 5-10 minutes with me, or half an hour max? What can they learn from me? Nothing. Even in the clinical setting, they cannot learn anything from me, right? Even if a doctor is treating me right now, he's not learning anything, right? He's gonna experiment on me and may cause more damage to me, and eventually they learn nothing, they care about nothing, because I'm only a number to them. I'm just a number, right? um, so we don't have good quality doctors because of that, right? That's the reality. We don't have good quality doctors because the doctors are not spending enough time with the patients. And when you don't spend enough time with the patient, you are not learning anything. You learn by spending time with the patient. You gain experience by spending time with the patient. But currently, the current medical system we have, it doesn't allow doctors to spend time with the patient. It doesn't allow that. Um, Most patients, they're like sheeps. They go in 5 minutes. It's like you're going to a slaughterhouse. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, boom, out, right? It's like you're in a factory, right? They make our healthcare system like a factory. You're going in line. It's like you're a sheep. You're a sheep about to be slaughtered, right? Nobody cares about you. There is not enough care provided. The reality is our healthcare system you should be treated like a king, when you're sick, not like a sheep about to be slaughtered, right? You should be treated like a king. You should have received the best quality of care, and that's how you evaluate if our healthcare system is good or bad. It's the quality of care you receive, right? Like in some countries, you could tell it's way better than Canada because the way they treat you like a king. When you're sick, you're a king. You're not nobody, right? Here they treat you like you're nobody, right? So that got to change. I'd rather have a doctor that has 2 years of schooling, but spend more time with me and have more medical experience with the patients, who has more interaction with the patient and thus have more medical experience, than a doctor who studied for 15 years and doesn't give a fuck about you. I'd rather have that. Well, what solution did they give me? Nothing. No solution. I've been suffering more than a year now from my insomnia. No solution was provided. However, if there was a doctor that spends a lot of time with you and cares about you, and for sure I would not be suffering right now. For sure, that's 100%. And this applies not just to insomnia, to everything else, right? Any other medical condition. And this is the reality we have to face. If we keep denying this reality, there will be no solution. If we're going to keep lying to ourselves that, hey, we need a doctor that studies for 20, 15 years, 15, 20 years, otherwise we cannot trust that doctor, this is all bullshit. The amount of education does not indicate the skill level. It does not indicate the skill level. There are doctors, let's say from other countries, who study less than the Canadian doctors, but they have way more skills. They are more skillful. This is just an example I'm giving, right? There are some skillful doctors in my country, for example, that didn't have as much education as the Canadian counterpart, right? Canadian doctors, but they still have way better skills. For example, I have an ingrown toenail. In my country, I got an operation within 1 day, not even 1 day, within 5 minutes of the doctor seeing me. Okay? I got the ingrown toenail resolved, but the doctor was very professional. I didn't feel much pain. It was solved very quickly. The ingrown nail did not come back. Only had the operation done once, and it never came back. And the doctor was very professional. He had a follow-up appointment with me. He cleaned my fingers, like he will clean my finger with the follow-up to check for infections and all these things. Here in Canada, I have ingrown nail problem, and guess what? I had to wait 1 month just to see a doctor to evaluate the ingrown toenail, and just to evaluate, just to look at it. 1 month just to look at it, not to treat it, just to look at it. Another month to do the operation on my nail. By the time the doctor saw me, it was too inflamed. It was too inflamed. And guess what they have to do? When they inject my feet with the freezing chemicals, with the I think it's like lidocaine, maybe lidocaine. I don't know what they use as the freezing agent. So they're trying to freeze it. It will not freeze because it was too much inflamed. They took too long to treat it. So what they have to do, they have to put me to sleep, because there's no freezing agent that can work. And when they put me to sleep, guess what happened? I couldn't breathe. I almost died. I almost got killed. Yeah. So, and when they did it, it came back again. No, there was no follow-up, nothing. There was no follow-up after that to see if my feet is doing better or not. They didn't clean it, nothing. They did exactly nothing. After the operation, that's it. You're on your own. And it came back. They didn't do a good job. It came back. It kept coming back. Eventually, they have to burn the root in my nail multiple times, and still kept coming back. So it was a nightmare experience for me, just from an ingrown toenail. In my country, this was not the case. My country was easily solved. So I would say the doctor in my country was way more skillful than the doctor in Canada. For that particular experience I had, he was more skillful. And there are other examples. You will hear people going back to their country to get treated because it's They cannot wait to be treated in Canada, right? And you will see, like, some people, they will tell you that the doctors in their country is better. Um, so this is just we're lying to ourselves, saying, well, because this doctor has more education, it's better. Not necessarily. And so what if he has more education? If he's not going to apply what he learned, what's the point of the education? You could learn. It's like an example I'm giving you. If I have a library full of books, I have a lot of knowledge. I read all these books, but I never use the knowledge. What's the point? What is the point of doing that? Right? Knowledge is not powerful if you don't use it. I know they say knowledge is power, but in this case, it's not power. Because if you don't use it, what power does it bring? In this case, our medical doctors are just bookshelves, really. In Canada, medical doctors are just bookshelves. You load books into them, and nothing gets applied. Just think of it like that. And you don't want a doctor that's a bookshelf. You don't want that. You want a doctor that actually apply what they learn, right? Right? And this is the reality, and this is what we should focus on. Like, not everything you teach the student, they're gonna apply. Yeah. And I want people to wake up. Like, wake up. Wake up. This is not how the healthcare system should be. Wake up. You know. You want a shitty healthcare system? Then go teach them for 20 years, 30 years. See what kind of doctors you're gonna get. You're gonna get stupid doctors. Because also you have to remember the fact, no one can remember stuff for 30 years. Like, no one can remember that kind of knowledge that you accumulate within 30 years. Our brain capacity is limited. The most your brain can hold maybe the last 2 years of your medical school, or the last 3 years maybe of your medical school. Everything else you learned prior to that, you probably forgot. Right? No matter how much knowledge you gain, you're going to forget it. Because there's a capacity. Our brain has a capacity. We're not unlimited. We're not like a limited hard drive, right? You could load stuff to it, like a limited amount of stuff. We have a capacity. And by increasing the number of learning material, it's not going to make you smarter or better or anything. It might even make you slower. It might even make it worse. Just imagine you have a hard drive with limited capacity, and you go put all kinds of programs on that hard drive, fill it up with a lot of garbage. Your computer is going to slow down. The same thing the human brain works, right? If you load too much crap into it, eventually it may not function properly, right? It may actually make it worse. Like, if a doctor has too much knowledge, he'd be like, like, he will get confused. He will not make up his mind. He cannot even make up his mind. Because even, let's pretend, even if the doctor was able to hold that much knowledge, right? Even if he's able to hold a lot of knowledge, right? A lot of information in his head, right? Even if he's able to hold it for that long, that amount of knowledge is going to confuse him, right? Because he's going to think about this and that, and he's going to not focus, right? He's going to lose focus when he's trying to treat you, right? Because your problem could be very simple, and it doesn't need, you need to be a critical thinker, not a person with a lot of knowledge. You need a person who could think outside the box, right? So a lot of knowledge may go against you. Actually, it may make you think of think of things that don't apply and waste your time, right? Like, for example, you go to a doctor with a stomach problem, like, oh, we have to check uh, with a simple stomach problem. He may make you do all sorts of tests that make you suffer and cause problems. Some of these tests could cause problems, like for example, if you do endoscopy, um, they put the camera, then you end up having aspiration, or you might end up having other stomach issues like bleeding. Your stomach, you may tear your stomach from the camera, right? And you may end up having torn colon and bleeding. They just send you to the wrong, like they do a lot of unnecessary things sometimes, and you end up having problems. Or they may end up, some doctors, when they have too much knowledge, they don't care anymore. They end up saying, well, I'm not going to test for anything. The patient is just imagining things. They're magnifying their symptoms, right? They're exaggerating their symptoms, right? And some doctors, they give up. They have this attitude, they give up, right? They don't want to do anything. Other doctors will get confused. They'll be like, I'll do this test, that test, this test. They do the wrong test even, and sometimes they give you the wrong treatment because of the too much knowledge they have. They cannot focus. That's the problem. They will lose focus of what they need to do, right? Yeah. I don't know what another analogy I could use where could be harmful, too much knowledge. Um, I don't know. I can't think of it right now, but maybe I'll come up with one in some other videos. Yeah, maybe I'll come up with one. I'm trying to think of it right now, actually. Um, let's say you're fixing a computer, okay? Because I used to be a computer technician. You study about the RAM, you study about CPU, you study about all these things, hard drives, whatnot. But let's say now you want to know more than what CPU does, what the RAM does, and all these things, right? You want to learn about the computer language. Um, you want to learn about how they make the CPU and how they make the memory and how they make all these things. So now you have more knowledge about the computer, right? So when it comes to fixing the computer, do you need all that kind of knowledge? You don't, right? You want to be dumbed down, actually, because having too much of that knowledge is going to make you paranoid, right? You may end up not be able, you may not even be able to fix simple things, because let's say I know a lot about programming and a lot about how the processors are made and how the CPU is made. So I may end up spending too much time on one computer just to fix it because I have so much knowledge, right? And eventually I may not be able to fix it, right? I may do a lot of unnecessary things to fix it, wasting too much time on it, and eventually I cannot fix it. Whereas if you're skillful with the limited knowledge you have, you might be able to fix that computer way more quicker, way more efficiently, right? And you might have more skill than a person who has more knowledge, right? Like, let's say I'm just a regular technician, computer technician, that has fixed so many computers in the past, compared to you, who has a lot of knowledge about computers, who only worked in the computer repair for 1 year or 2 years, right? Me compared to you, I will be more skillful. even though I don't have very limited knowledge, right? So that's like one analogy I could think of. Yeah. Um, Sometimes limited knowledge is good for us. Really, we don't need a lot. It's good for our sanity. Um, I'm not saying doctors shouldn't learn. I'm not saying, but I know knowledge is power. But what's the point of gaining it? This is my another point here. What's the point of gaining too much knowledge when you can't apply it? When you cannot use it? Pointless. All right. You want to apply everything you learn. Everything you learn should be a gem. Should be something that you will keep in your brain forever. That is worth to hold on in your brain. Everything you learn should be worth to hold. The memory in your brain, right? The memory capacity in your brain. If it's not worth to hold, let go of it, right? Eventually, you're gonna let go of it. Eventually, if you don't use it like they say, you lose it. And that's the reality. A lot of stuff doctors learn, they don't use, they lose. Ya Allah. Okay. Have a good night, guys. Whoever is watching. I hope all your insomnia gets cured. I hope you don't suffer like me. I hope so. I hope all of you who are suffering from insomnia get some relief soon. May God make it easy for you as well.